Nick Miu.
Mr. Miu, please stand. Raise your right hand. The clerk will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Mr. Nelson.
You're the Nick Miu we've been talking about for the past 7 days.
Yes, sir.
Nick, I want to right away talk to you about exhibit number 104, if I could have the screen. You were on the Apple River on July 30th.
Yes.
I want to ask you about this exhibit, which says it's from frame 2592 at 149 into the video. Have you seen this before?
Yes.
Do you remember that time in your life when you were on the river in that position as shown in that photograph?
Yes.
Sometime after that, did something happen to you?
Yes.
Were you punched and
Not,
attacked?
not
After-
before
Sometime
that.
after this, were you
After
punched?
that, yes.
Okay, I want to talk about the time between this and the time that you get punched, okay?
Okay.
Exhibit number 104 there is on the, with it. Where are you on that?
I'm standing in front of two ladies.
In which, if you were going to just describe the symbol on exhibit 104 symbolizing you, which one is that?
The one with the M.
Okay.
Do you
What
want the-
color?
Do you want the
Blue.
annotator?
At that point in time, you said there's two people in front of you. Who are those two people in front of you?
A blonde lady to my left and a red hair lady to my right.
Were there other, does this accurately reflect how you remember roughly people in general around you?
Yes.
The blonde lady in front and the other woman, you understand now that through the trial that the blonde woman is named Madison Cohen?
Yes.
Can we use her name when possible?
Yes.
And the, you said red-haired woman, her name's Riley Madison. Can we use her name when possible?
Yes.
Possible? So when Riley and Madison are standing in front of you at that point, just before you get punched, right? What are they doing?
They're yelling at me. At one point, they were pointing downriver and saying, go, get away. Stomachs.
What are they doing with their hands?
They're touching me.
When you say touching you, is that something gentle?
No, they're pushing. Madison, she pushed against my left shoulder. She pushed against my chest. She was pointing her finger right at my face. She was yelling at me, very close to my face. Riley had one of her arms, I believe it was left hand, on my right arm, squeezing and pushing me back.
And when you just gave that description, you put your hands distance apart. Can you show us that again? How far away were they?
About a foot,
Okay.
less than a foot.
You've heard it described through trial as in your personal space. Would you agree with that?
Yes, right in my face, I would describe.
When that was happening, what did it sound like to you?
The volume was very, very high.
Let me ask you about how your body was responding in that moment when people are pushing you, poking at you, the volume is high. How's your heart? Could you tell us about what your heart rate was?
Oh, yeah. My heart rate was getting really high. My breathing was getting very high. I was...
How about your vision? Did you
Yeah.
have normal vision in that moment?
No. At that moment, because of the situation, I was getting tunnel vision.
Can you describe what you mean by you say in tunnel vision?
I couldn't see peripheral vision, but I could see center in right before my eyes.
How about hearing? Could you hear the noises?
I could hear the volume very high, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. The noise became garbled. I mean, the sound became garbled.
Did you feel threatened at that point?
Yes,
Did you have your knife in your right hand?
yes.
What did you do with your left hand?
With
Tell
my-
us what you did with your left hand.
Yeah, with my left hand, I pushed her away from my face.
Can you show us what you did with your left hand? Why'd you do that?
She was very close to my face. She was in my personal space. Had been there for a while, and I felt threatened.
Did you intend to harm her in some way?
No,
Did you try to harm her in some way?
absolutely not.
Do you know where, if at all, you had contact with her body when you raised your left hand in that manner?
No,
Do you think you had contact with her?
no.
Okay. I want to take us out of that space now for a second, okay, Nick?
Okay.
If I could have the screen again. You were here in court when we talked about, when we watched the video of you speaking with Brandy Hart, is that right?
Yes.
And I think you told her about your health condition. Can you just tell the jury now, what was your health like on July 30th of 2022?
Was very poor. Yeah.
Had you, I think you mentioned to her again, had quadruple bypass surgery before?
Yes, sir.
And when did you have that?
2020, about the same month. So about August.
Showing you here what's been marked as exhibit number 108. Can you tell us what those are pictures of, starting just on the left?
Yep. On the left, it's me right after the surgery, holding a red heart pillow against my surgery.
What was the purpose that you knew of for that red heart pillow?
That was to protect my surgery from hits, bumps.
Was that something that the hospital provided? It looks like there's like almost a picture of heart and lungs on there.
It is. The hospital provided that.
And then the picture in the middle, what is that?
My first walk, my new life.
Did it take you some time to recover and be as active and mobile as you were before?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think you ever reached the same level of mobility and fitness that you were prior to the quadruple bypass?
Never.
What's the picture of you on the right there? You can tell us.
My baby.
Okay. Is that a dog?
Yeah.
Is that dog important to you?
My angel.
Okay. And that's the cushions helping you to enjoy time with her, but still keeping your chest safe.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've had other surgeries in the past, is that right?
Yes.
Did you have a hernia surgery?
2 hernia surgeries.
Have you had back surgery?
Yes.
And again, in general, would you consider your fitness on, if you were going to put it on a scale for July 30th, what would you consider your overall health and fitness on July 30th of 2022?
With my weight and very poor.
I want to ask you now about moving on to the Apple River in July 30th, okay?
Okay.
On that, this was a planned trip, is that right?
Yes.
Did you get a call from your friend Ernesto sometime before that trip?
Yes, sir.
What was that call about?
He wanted to remind me to bring my knife to cut string when we tie the tubes together.
Okay, when you say, do you have a pocket knife?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us about that pocket knife?
I owned it for about 10 years. I have it a lot on me. I use it as basically a dual tool. I call it my Swiss Army knife, basically because I use it as a screwdriver. I cut insulation when I do electrical work. I use it pretty much everywhere.
Okay.
I'm an engineer. My tool.
Is it something that you've carried on your person, I don't want to say all the time, but somewhat routinely?
Yeah, when I knew I was going to work on something or need it for something, yes.
Okay. Now I want to skip ahead again now to the river, okay? At some point, did Ariel lose his phone?
Yes, he did.
Did you go to look for that phone?
I volunteered to go look for it.
When you went to go look for that phone, what were you wearing?
Before that,
Nope, right when you
Oh.
left your group to go look for that phone, what were you wearing?
so I took my goggles, my snorkel, and my swimming trunks.
Did you have anything on your feet?
Yes, I had, on my feet, I had a pair of really, really torn up sandals.
Can I approach, Judge?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 113. Is this a packet of 9 photos of your sandals?
Yes,
You seen those?
yes,
Does that accurately show the condition of the sandals that you had?
yes.
Can you just move to the admission of Exhibit 113?
The objection?
I think I've seen them, but if I can take a look at it.
Yes.
Oh, pardon, never mind, Mr. Anderson.
All right, 113 is received.
These weren't taken by you, were they?
Pictures? No.
These were taken by the Sheriff's Department, correct?
Yes,
Permission to publish, Judge?
Yes.
Can I, just because we're going to go through the PowerPoint, can I?
Yeah,
pass
just
them?
pass them to the jury.
Can you use your words? I know we have a picture that better does it, but just briefly, describe the condition of those sandals,
horrible.
okay?
They were just coming apart. I couldn't walk on them unless I tried to mend them.
Okay.
As you can see, I used string, leftover string to mend them.
When you left wearing those sandals and your shorts, did you have your pocket knife with you?
Yes,
Where was it?
in my right pocket, clipped to my,
Did you have that there pretty much all day?
yes,
You were here when we watched the video of your interview with Brandy Hart, is that right?
yes,
When you spoke with Brandy Hart, were you truthful to her about the knife?
no. I lied about the knife.
Was that your knife?
Yes, it is. It was.
Did you bring it with you when you went to go look for the phone?
Yes, I did.
When you went to go look for the phone, did you have any intent to harm anybody?
No,
Why'd you go leave your group?
go look for the phone.
Okay. At some point, did you have some contact with a group of teenagers?
Yes,
And you were here in court when we saw the 9-second video, is that right?
yes,
I want to show you just a couple of slides from that, if I could. Do you see those slides up there?
yes,
Are those from that video?
yes.
What are you doing in those 3 slides in general?
I was scanning the water, looking for the phone.
And are you, in that position, are you walking upriver or downriver?
Upriver, away from that group of boys.
Did you hear them say some things to you?
Yes,
Prior to your walking upriver and them, did you hear those words that I have written on that slide?
yes,
Prior to your hearing those words when you were walking upriver, had you had verbal contact with that group?
I think
They-
so. They asked me what I was looking for, and I told them I'm looking for a phone, a lost phone.
Did you ever tell them that you were looking for little girls?
No,
Were you looking for little girls?
absolutely not. It's pathetic.
When you, at the end of this, when you watch the video, at the end of the video, where I'm not going to play it, but do you remember what you did right there at the end?
At the end, I was walking away.
Did you eventually turn around and face in the direction of the group that was yelling at you and calling you a raper?
Yes,
When you,
Yes. I'll sustain the objection. The question was leading. Please continue.
What did you do at the end of the video?
I was walking away.
At some point, did you ever become in a position where you were looking at that group of teenagers that had yelled at you?
Yes.
What did you see when you were looking at that group of teenagers after the end of this video?
I saw one of them holding a phone in a bag, and I believed it was what I was looking for. So I turned around and I started approaching him.
Why did you approach them?
I wanted to get a closer look at the phone to see if it was the one that belonged to Ariel.
Did you eventually get near them?
Yes, I started walking, then I rushed the pace, stumbled, and fell on my knees, held on to their tube, at which point I lost my goggle and snorkel kit in the water.
You saw in the video, or excuse me, you saw during your interview with Brandy Hart that you said things different than what you just said now about what happened to your snorkel and goggles. Is that right?
Yes,
Is your memory sometimes different than what you see in the video?
yes,
Was your memory, in your memory, what happened to your goggles?
in my memory, the goggles got
Knocked away?
knocked away, yeah.
Objection leading.
So,
One second. When there's an objection, just wait on your answer. It is leading, sustained. Next question, please.
Yes, his answer was stricken.
It's a leading question. Let's move on.
Is your memory perfect?
never.
Now that you've watched the video, do you realize that you were wrong about that?
Yes.
What happened to your goggles?
My goggles fell in the water.
When they fell in the water, what did you do?
I started looking for them, searching right where they fell.
If I, oops, it's on already. Showing you here some slides, 220, 225, and 279. Can you tell us what you're doing?
I'm searching for the goggle kit.
And where are you in relation to the 6 teenagers' tubes? Are you on the side? Are you upriver? Are you downriver? Are you in some other position?
I'm upriver. So, yeah.
I'm going to then show you another group of slides, 575, 600, and 625. What does that show you doing?
All right, so what I did from that point, I went around the inner tubes to the other side, and I continued looking for the goggle and snorkel set.
Why did you walk around from the one side to get to the other side of the tubes?
Well, I thought that the water current would bring him over to the other side, and I was walking away from the boys at the same time.
Okay. During that time that you walked in that direction, did you have any physical contact with them?
No,
Were you confronting them?
no. Didn't say a word.
This next set of slides, what does this show you doing here?
I'm walking away from the group.
Why-
Still,
Go ahead.
still looking for my goggles at that time.
When you were doing that, did you ever hear the kids say anything?
They gave me a warning.
What'd they say?
You got 10 seconds.
In response to that, what did you do?
I ignored them, and I actually continued doing what I was doing.
Okay. Can show you the next set of slides here. Were you in a position to see here 963, 1140, and 1155, what the teenagers were doing behind you?
They were getting closer and closer to me. They were walking towards me.
Were you in a position to see that? Was that behind you, or had you turned around?
Well, I could hear their voices. I could hear that they were getting closer. At some point, I may have turned my head and witnessed that. They're coming towards me.
Showing you 1170, 1213, and 1284. What's happening here?
I'm at an angle to them, but I could say I have my back at them, still scanning the water, and they were right behind me. They got that close. Within seconds, they were right behind me.
At some point, did you see other people from another group?
Yes.
What did you see?
I saw what seemed to me at the time adults coming over from the other side of the river.
And when you saw adults coming over from the other side of the river, what did you do?
I walked towards them. I walked towards this. The first one was Madison.
When you walked towards Madison, where were the 6 teenage boys that had been yelling at you?
They're following me.
Were you in their path as you walked across the river towards Madison?
No,
Did they have as far as you know, did they have a clear path down the river if they wanted?
more than plenty.
Can I? Showing you this next group of photos, what's going on here?
So in this frame here, the first adult that came to me was Madison. She already had her finger pointing downriver and yelling at me and used some awkward words, ordering me to go down.
We see it looks like you're doing something with your right hand. Do you remember, what are you doing with your right hand?
Yep, I was trying to explain to her what I'm looking for.
When you tried to explain to her what you were looking for, did you get the impression she was listening to you?
No, her voice was too loud
Objection
to.
as to what Madison had as an impression.
Okay.
Hold on, wait a second. Sustained. Speculation.
I'm asking about his impression, so I'll rephrase, did you get the impression that Madison Cohen was going to listen to your words?
No,
Why not?
because she was too loud. She never stopped to give me a chance to talk, and she kept pointing and ordering me to go downriver.
We've all heard the tape, but was she using polite language?
Polite? No.
Did you hear anyone saying anything behind you when you walked over to Madison Cohen?
Yes, they're all calling me names.
Showing you the next set of slides here, 1776, 1840, and 1824. What are you doing here in this set of slides?
I'm turning my back towards Madison and the rest of the people.
Why did you turn your back to Madison and the rest of the people?
It felt to me like I couldn't have a conversation with her at that point. She was not listening, and I didn't want to interact any further.
Had you at that point found your snorkel or goggles?
No,
Had you at that point found the phone?
no.
Did you hear anybody saying anything while you stood there with their back to them?
Oh yeah,
What did you hear?
they were still yelling. He's looking for little girls.
Were you looking for little girls?
Absolutely not.
When you heard them, did you consider that to be a lie?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Sustained.
I asked, did you consider that to be a lie? I don't
Yes,
think
of
Hold on,
course.
please.
Don't think
I
that's legal.
sustain, I sustain the objection. Please move on.
When you heard that, did you consider it to be truthful or did you consider it to be untrue?
Untrue.
And when you heard someone say an untruth about you, did that change how you were feeling?
I felt frustrated. I felt annoyed. They kept saying it over and over, so it annoyed me and frustrated me.
And when you heard them say this untruth about you, did it appear to you as if the other group that had come over agreed with what these the teenagers were yelling about you?
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
Did you think anybody in the other group was going to help you or listen to you when you were being called these names and accused of being a pedophile?
Objection, leading.
sustained.
How did you feel?
Well, I felt overwhelmed at that point. I felt still annoyed, frustrated. I felt like she wasn't listening. She was the adult I thought I was going to reason with or get help from. She obviously didn't even attempt to reprimand the children from yelling.
Showing you another slide here, some 1838, 1846, and 1865. Is that you?
Yes.
What are you doing?
Judge, can we approach?
Yes. Just one moment. Ready? Okay,
Yes, sir.
let's continue.
Showing you photos 1838, 1846, 1865. What are you doing in those? Do you remember what you were doing?
Yeah, I had my back towards the group of people.
In the two photos there, which direction are you looking?
I'm looking downriver.
Okay. Are you looking at, there's two different groups, if I recall, from Exhibit 104. Is that right?
Yes,
One came from one side of the river and the other one's on the other side of the river.
correct.
Where are you, in the photo on the upper left, are you looking at one particular group as opposed to another group?
Yes, I'm looking at the boys group
And why are you looking at the boys group?
because they were yelling at me.
And what were they yelling at you?
They were yelling things that were not true and pointing at me.
When this, I want to, after that happened, showing you the next group of slides, 1875, 1883, and 1889. Do you remember what Madison did, if anything, to you?
Yeah,
What did she do?
she grabbed my right arm and she pulled me towards her and I lost my balance, so I moved towards her.
Did you consider that in that circumstance to be a gentle or a gracious touch?
No, that was not a gracious touch. No, not at all.
Had she been using any gentle or gracious words with you?
Not that, no, not that I remember.
In those photos, can we see the footwear that you were wearing on that day?
Yep, those sandals that we saw earlier.
Did you have confidence in your footing in that area with those sandals?
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
How did you feel about your footing in that area?
Very unstable.
Want to show you the next set of slides here. Do you remember what you say to Madison after she pulled on your right arm?
Yeah, I told her not to touch me
And why did you tell her that?
because she pulled on me without my invitation.
Did you say that in any particular tone?
No, not in a mean tone, but I made it sound so she could hear me. Don't touch me.
Okay. Why didn't you want her to touch you?
I didn't give her permission to do so
Sure, but why did you not want to give her permission to do so?
because she was one track mind. She just wanted to get me away from that, point me down river and tell me to go there.
What's your comfort level at this point?
On a scale from 1 to 10, comfort level is very low.
Okay. Are you, if you had that same thing, a scale of like a fear scale, a 1 to 10 fear scale, right? And so
Yeah.
with 10 being the most fearful you've ever been in your life and 0, let's call 0 to 10 being the most safe you've ever felt. Where are you at here on a fear scale?
In that particular,
Yeah,
about 1,
okay. So you're more uncomfortable but not necessarily afraid, is that what I understand?
correct.
At, where was your group in relation to you then?
Was upriver.
And did you do anything in order, in relation to your group?
Yep.
What did you do?
I turned to them and I called them. I was trying to call them to come over and help me.
Are these slides, does this 2127, 2140, 2131, what does that show you doing?
I was waving at them and calling them to come over.
When you say you were calling them, did you do something physical or did you something verbal or did you do both?
Physical.
Did you make any verbal comments at that point?
No,
Why not?
it was very loud. All around me was very loud. I don't think that anybody could have heard me at 100 and some feet away.
With everybody else yelling, did you think your yelling was going to de-escalate or escalate the situation?
When everybody's raising their voice, I don't think having another raised voice would help the situation.
After you raised your hand to call for your friends, did you see Madison Cohn doing anything?
Oh, yeah. She was looking towards her group, and then she waved to them to come over to her.
Is that what we're seeing here in 2261, 2262, and 2263? What do you see?
Yep, she is calling her group over.
Did you remember when she called her group over, did her group respond?
Yes,
Did they join that?
yes,
Showing you now these slides, is that what you saw?
yes.
I think we asked you questions before about Exhibit 104 with you with the blue dot and the other red dots. When you were, were you standing there? Were other people around you?
Yes,
When you were standing there in that moment with the other people around you after you've called your friends once, was that other group, did they appear to be afraid to you?
afraid from me?
Afraid, did they appear? When you look at them, do they look like they're in fear?
No, absolutely
What does it look
not.
like to you?
They're all laughing and enjoying themselves
At whose expense?
at my expense.
And
Wait.
Speculation as to what these other,
Sustained. Speculation as to what other people think. Next question.
how did you feel in that moment when they were around you saying those things? Did you think they wanted you to join in their laughter?
No,
Did you want to join in their laughter?
no, absolutely not. It was
Where, if this fear scale is going, is it staying at 1 or is it moving in a particular direction?
It's creeping up.
Showing you another set of slides here, 2328, 2311, 2382. Do you remember, what do you remember about that?
I remember the young boys are yelling, pointing at me, saying things that are not true.
Were you able to see, like in this next slide, this 2429, 2440, 2401, were you able to see as you stood there what everybody was doing, or were you able to scan and see that?
For a brief second, yes. They
Okay.
were very close. They were really close to me. I could see and hear them.
How about your fear scale there? Where is it? Where is it?
About 2 or 3.
Okay. I see in the one on the right there, you have your hand someplace. Can you tell me what you're doing with your right hand?
Yes, I'm reaching for my pocket knife
Why?
because at one point my fear was getting really high, and
Okay.
I was getting ready to pull it out.
Do you remember, other than what you've talked about, Madison Cohen pulling you, which we saw, do you remember anybody else touching, pushing, grabbing you in any way?
The 2 ladies, yeah.
Do you,
Madison.
showing you here what's 2472, 2478, 2481. Do you remember what's happening in those photos?
Yes. This one, the lady on my right side, she grabbed my arm and she was pushing against my arm.
And did that increase your level of comfort or increase your level of fear or something different?
So it decreased my level, the level of comfort, and increased my fear.
Do you remember, at some point, do you take your knife out of your pocket?
Yes, I do.
Do you know when that is in relation to these slides? Do you have a memory exactly of when that is?
Not exactly, but when they were pushing and poking at me, I remember I pulled it out then.
Okay. Do you remember, did you have it out before you were punched or after you were punched?
Before I was punched.
Okay. Showing you another set of slides here. It looks like do you remember doing something with your left hand?
Yeah, at that moment, I really needed my people to come over and help me, so I was trying to get their attention.
One more slide here. What's happening here in the slide?
Madison is pushing on my left shoulder and basically yelling at me right in my face.
And then on the next slide, we see something in your hand. Is that right?
That's a knife.
Why'd you take out your knife at that point?
I was beginning to be afraid.
And what was it about that moment where everybody is that made you so fearful that you took out your knife?
I was surrounded. They were yelling. They had just pushed me. Well, the lady, they squeezed my arm. I mean, it seemed like they were not backing away.
Previously, you turned around. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you feel comfortable turning around in this situation?
No,
Why not?
they're too close to me.
What happened the last time that you turned around?
Nothing good.
Judge, this
Good place to break.
may,
Mr. Miu, would you please retake the witness stand? You are still under oath. Mr. Nelson.
thank you. Can I have the screen? Mr. Miu, when we finished, I think we were getting to the chronological space that we had begun the morning on, and so I want to start from there again and then move forward from there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
When I had asked you before, you talked about how you felt, but since that time, you've told the jury that you had this fear scale, okay? So I want to ask you about, at this time, what we see here, what you previously described the scene, right? How were you feeling on the fear scale?
About a 6, 7.
Okay. And at some point, I think you told them before, but just so we can put it into the context here, did you do something in response to something that was done to you when you're standing there in this moment?
Yes, after I was pushed, and both sides, I would say, squeezed, I was afraid, so I pulled out my knife.
Okay. Did you do something with your left hand at some point?
Yes, I did.
What'd you do with your left hand?
I pushed her away. I
And when you
pushed
say you
Madison.
Push
away.
Madison away. Was the purpose in that to have contact with her and to get her to back up?
Yes.
Did you have a purpose to cause her pain?
No,
Were you trying to hurt her?
no.
What were you trying to do?
I was trying to push her away from my space. She was right in my space, my face.
Why didn't you just back up?
I couldn't back up at that moment.
Okay, when you say you couldn't back up, why not?
I
Because
would've-
you felt uncomfortable, or were you?
Objection leading?
Because I would have had to.
Wait, there's an objection. Sustained on leading. Next question.
Wasn't done with it. Were you uncomfortable, or was there a wall behind you, or was there some other reason? Why did you feel like you couldn't back up?
I didn't feel safe turning my back on those people.
Okay, how about just taking a step backwards?
Well, I was standing my ground. I didn't move towards anybody.
Okay.
They're coming at me.
When you raised your left hand and you did that, do you recall when you pushed her away having contact with her?
I may have, yes.
Okay. Do you remember in particular where, if at all, you touched her?
No.
Okay. Would it surprise you if you touched her?
No.
Was that, in fact, your purpose in pushing her away?
Absolutely.
Okay.
She was in my space.
I want to move forward here. And you can turn the slide off, I guess. After you did that, right, did something happen to you?
Yeah.
Did people do something to you?
Yeah.
What was done to you?
Yeah, almost right away I got punched and fell in the
And
water
where did you get punched?
on my face, on my side of the head.
Now, you've had a chance to watch this video, correct?
Yes.
Have you had a chance to see these 4,800 slides?
Yes.
Prior to seeing that, did you remember everything?
No.
Have the video or the slides help you to refresh your memory in some way?
A lot.
Have you remembered everything because you've seen that?
Not everything, no.
Okay. Do you remember some things different than what you see in the video?
No.
You don't remember any of the things different in that you see in the video, like you talked about the goggles?
Objection leading.
Overruled. We're just trying to reorient the witness to a place where examination can continue.
Are there some times when your memory is different from what the video is?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Now, this series that I want to show you is about things that were done to you, okay?
Yes.
Do you have a specific memory about everything that was done to you?
No.
Do you have a specific memory about everything that you did in response to what was done to you?
No.
Do you have a memory about how you felt in those moments?
I would say yes, I do.
Do you have a memory of what you believed in those moments based upon those feelings?
Of course.
So I want to show you the slide here. Again, this is slide 2661, 2662, and 2681. That's fine. Do you remember how you felt when you fell back into the water?
I was, number one, I was stunned. That's why I fell backwards. I was very afraid, of course.
On this fear scale that you've talked about before, where are you on that scale from 0 to 10?
Right at the top, 10.
Have you ever been at that 10 before in your life?
Never been in a situation like this or a fight in my life.
Have you ever been at a 10?
Never.
When you did that, as we see on the right, what happened to your head?
Oh, well, I fell in the water. Obviously, that's a river, and I hit my head on river rock, and my whole body went under. Well,
Okay.
my head went underwater.
When you say your head went under, is that what it felt like?
Yes,
Did you feel water come over your face?
over my
Objection,
entire body.
Your
Hold on,
Yes,
hold on. What's the objection?
Leading.
Sustained.
Where did you feel the water on your body?
over my face, my mouth.
Okay.
I felt like I was submerged in water at the moment.
Did you try to get up?
Yes,
Why did you want to get up? Why didn't you just lay down there peacefully in the water?
to drown? No, I wouldn't want to do that. I wanted to get up out of the water.
At that moment, when you're down in the water, had anybody like A.J. Martin come up to you and said, just lay there and rest?
Somebody came from behind, yes, I found out later who he was, and pushed me down and to keep me in the water.
Before that, when you tried to get up, do you remember feeling anything before that? You told the,
Yeah,
did you feel anything to any part of your head?
yes, of course.
What did you feel?
Felt punched in the head.
Showing you the next slides, is that 2701, 2705, 2706? What's happening to you there?
I'm getting hit on the head.
How many times at that point, is your memory of watching the video and your memory of experiencing this, have you been hit in the head now, but either by people or by the ground or by the water?
4 times at least.
Okay. At this point in time, where's your fear scale?
A 10.
When this happened to you, did you immediately get up or did you fall back in the water or did something else happen?
I tried getting up, but I couldn't.
Did you, at some point, did you feel something on your backside?
There was somebody pushing me down.
And when you felt that on your backside, did you feel anything else anywhere else?
I got hit in the face, in the front of my head.
And is that exhibit here, 2147, do you see that hand through the underarm there?
Yes,
Do you remember getting hit in the head there?
yes,
Was that a gentle hit?
no.
When you're getting hit in the head here again, where are you at on the fear scale at that point?
10,
Have you been able to get up out of the water?
no.
How many people do you know? How many people are attacking you?
At the time, I didn't know, but I knew there were more than I could handle.
Did it feel like it was, how many people did it feel like?
Like 10,
Okay. You've seen the video and you responded at some point, is that right?
yes,
And you used your knife in response.
yes.
Why did you use your knife?
I feared for my life.
Did you think you could get out of there without using your knife?
I couldn't even get up. They're pushing me down. No, so the answer is no.
In that time when you're down on the ground, did you think there was a way for you to escape?
No,
Did you feel like you could just crawl away or run away or walk away or do anything else to escape?
not in that position.
The next day after this, July 31st, were you in the, did you feel, how did your body feel the next day?
I hurt everywhere. My head hurt, my throat hurt, obviously my back hurt. I hurt everywhere.
You said your throat hurt. Is that something you remembered that day before when you were speaking with Brandy Hart?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Did you mention it to Brandy Hart?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you see anything, when you felt the pain about your throat, did you see anything that refreshed your memory about what caused that pain to your throat?
After watching the video, yes.
Okay. What happened?
I got hit in the throat.
Do you remember that now?
Yes,
If I can. showing you the slides 2993, 2994, and 2997. Is that you?
Yes.
What's happening to you there?
Somebody is going for my throat, squeezing my throat.
Do you remember how that felt?
I felt pain. I couldn't breathe. Scared, afraid.
And showing you the next set of slides here, 2998, 99, and 3000. What did you think was going to happen to you in that moment?
The whole time I felt like I was going to die, so basically I feared for my life.
And in response to that, here's slide 3000. Did you do something in response to that?
I reached out and stabbed him.
When you used your knife, and again, this is open-ended, you can ask it any way you want. Were you trying to kill somebody?
Absolutely not.
What were you trying to do?
I was just trying to defend myself.
After this was, again, we've seen the video, you talked to investigator Hart. So I want to ask you a little bit about that for a moment. Make sense? Do you independently, well, let me say, you've watched the video here in court, correct?
Yes,
And you watched the video prior to that, we've watched it together, right?
yes.
Does watching that video refresh your memory? Do you have an independent memory of that conversation with investigator Hart?
No,
Do you remember what it is you said other than seeing things on the video?
other than I lied about the knife. That's what I remember, afterward. Yeah, I lied about the knife.
Do you remember actually saying that in that moment, or you just remember seeing that and that's what you remember seeing?
I remember seeing it in the video.
Okay. Do you remember how you were feeling during that time at all? Do you have any memory about that?
Not much.
Just one other thing out of the timeline here. Since that time, we've heard testimony, you have a twin brother.
Yes,
Is he here in the courtroom?
yes.
Objection relevance, Your Honor.
Overruled. You may continue.
Just briefly, because I want to ask you about conversations that you may have had with your twin brother. Just briefly. How do you feel about your twin brother?
I love him.
Objection, that's irrelevant, Your Honor.
During this time, have you had conversations with your twin brother?
Yes,
Do you consider there to be anybody that you're really, maybe your wife, anybody you're closer to than your twin brother?
no.
You and your twin brother, when you speak, what language do you speak in?
Romanian.
Why do you speak in Romanian with your twin brother?
It's the easiest way to find words to describe what we're thinking.
Okay. Is that where you grew up?
That's the first language.
Are there times when you've spoke with your brother that you've talked about this, what happened to you on the river?
Yes,
Is your memory about what you did or what was done to you, is it any better when you talk to your brother than it is when you talk about other times?
no,
Are you always getting it right?
no.
How about your feelings? Your memory about your feelings? Do you get those right?
Yes, but almost all the time. The feeling is imprinted in my heart, my soul, my mind.
Let me, just for a moment, I'll bring us back to the river on July 30th, okay? At some, I think you'd said on the video and maybe you testified that people attacked you, is that right?
Correct.
At some point, did people stop attacking you?
No.
At some point, did people stop attacking you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
When people stopped attacking you, what did you do?
I walk away.
Okay. Why didn't you stay?
Oh God. I walked away towards my group where it was safe. I was afraid of the people that I just had contact with.
When you're walking away, and you've talked about this fear scale, where are you on the fear scale? Does it just go down right to 0? Does it stay at 10? Does something else happen?
No, as soon as I saw the people I trusted, my fear level started creeping down.
When you say creeping down, when you're walking back, can you give us a Where are you on that scale?
As I was getting closer to my group, the fear factor is going lower and lower.
But when you first start walking back, what's the number value?
About 8,
When you get back to the tubes, what's the number level?
about 4, 5.
I think we didn't talk about it. We've talked a little bit about your body response during this brief time. When you start walking back, how's your body responding to you?
I had cramps. I felt like I had diarrhea, so I felt like I lost my bowel,
Was that
which I did.
was that when you were walking back, or was that when you were in that 10 seconds of things happening to you and you responding?
I was, when the action was going on, in the 10-second frame,
You've got diarrhea.
yes.
When you were walking back, what else is your body, what are you feeling with your body?
Well, heartbeat is getting, when I'm walking back, the heartbeat was very, very high. Now it's going down a little bit, breathing, that's what I remember. Remember, I was super, super stressed.
How about your head? As you're going back, is your head clear? Is your head in a different state? How can you describe like what's going on in your head?
My head was in a fog. It was like thick fog. I couldn't think, I couldn't realize what I've been through.
Were you trying to make sense of it?
I was trying, but there was no sense to be made. I was completely confused and in a fog.
And when you walked away, you had the knife in your hand, is that right?
Yep.
When you got to your group, did you still have the knife?
No.
What happened to the knife?
On the way back, I tossed it on the bank.
And you just made with your right hand kind of a underhand motion
Yeah.
with your right hand from, at your side, raising up to maybe level with you. Is that fair representation of what you were describing?
Correct.
Why'd you toss the knife?
I don't know. I was afraid. I felt like I had to throw it away.
What were you afraid of at that point?
I was overwhelmed with just fear, residual fear. And I didn't want to have anything to do with that.
Okay. We've heard testimony that eventually you get back to the tubes. Does that happen?
Yeah.
Where's your memory about that? Right now, as you sit here, because we don't have a video about that, we don't have photos of that, what's your memory like about that?
Barely remember anything.
Do you remember talking to people?
I remember people trying to talk to me, but I don't know. I don't remember what I said.
Okay. You've heard some testimony about things that you might have said. Are you denying you said any of those things?
No.
Do you know what you said?
After watching the video, yes.
The video isn't I'm confused. The tubes, there's no video of you at the tubes. When you say,
Oh, after.
were you talking about Brandy Hart's statements?
Yes, yes.
Okay. About what you said to the people at the tubes, do you have any memory of that?
No.
Okay. When you're sitting there at the tubes, how are you feeling in your head? You talked about this fog, right? If you could put that on a scale, where is that?
I still couldn't, my head was in a thick cloud. I couldn't understand what just happened. Still trying to process everything. I was overwhelmed.
Did you think at any point you were just casual about what had happened?
No,
Did this feel casual to you in any way?
no.
At some point, you saw the video here, you had contact with the police, is that right?
Yes,
You had sat in the back of a squad car of the Sheriff Knutson, is that right?
yes,
Do you remember much of anything about that?
no.
Do you remember, you've seen some of the videos today, can you tell us, what do you remember?
Nothing.
Okay. Nothing at all? How about a feeling? Do you remember a feeling at all?
Yeah, I was still very afraid.
Okay. When you say very afraid, what were you afraid of at that point?
Well, I've been through a horror situation, but in their presence, I wasn't that afraid, but I was stunned. I don't remember much about it.
Do you remember watching the video here in court when the police were talking about a guy with the bat?
Oh, yeah,
Do you remember anything about that?
a little bit.
Do you remember how that made you feel?
Oh, yeah,
How-
I felt very afraid of him, very afraid.
We watched the video of you with Sheriff Knutson. That was about 23 seconds long. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Have you watched a longer portion of that video with your attorneys?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember saying more things to Sheriff Knutson after that?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. We saw a video here about your being arrested and told that you were arrested for homicide. Did you remember that?
After watching the video, memory came back, but I don't remember that.
Okay.
Naturally.
When you're talking with either, at some point you go and you meet with Investigator Hart, is that right?
Yeah.
When they were talking about homicides and injuries, can you tell me what's your mindset? Did that make sense to you? Did you understand that?
No, I couldn't make any sense of anything that she was telling me. I just couldn't make sense of it. Plus, I don't remember the meeting with her.
Okay. Right now, as you sit here, you're like, I don't remember that.
Right.
The feelings, now, some of the times that you talk with Brandy Hart, you talk about what you saw happening or heard happening or what you did. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you get all of that right?
No.
Your feelings, when you were talking about your feelings about and how you believed and your fear.
I feared for my life. That's one thing I can't deny. That's embedded in my head forever. I feared for my life. I know that. I have nightmares about it.
You've talked to, or yeah, tell us about those nightmares.
I have them every night.
What happens in those nightmares?
Objection, Your Honor. This point is irrelevant.
It's
Just, his nightmares are irrelevant. The fact that he had them, maybe, but not the content. No.
Can I
He's
approach?
asking- Yes.
Nick, I want to ask you some questions about those nightmares, okay? Just to put it in just this tight little box, okay? You've had nightmares,
Yes,
and the nightmares have been about what happened to you on the Apple River when you were attacked.
correct.
And the nightmares are essentially a replaying of what it is that happened. Agreed?
Correct.
And when you have those nightmares, your body responds in a
Objection, Your Honor, please approach.
Yes. Let's continue.
Nick, those nightmares that you've had about what happened on July 30th, have you sought medical treatment for that?
Yes,
Just a couple of, I want to just make sure we check a couple of legal boxes, okay? When you used the knife, did you believe you were under attack?
yes,
Why?
because at that point, they've already been pushing and tugging and
When you used the knife, had they done anything more than pushing or tugging? Did
they
you,
punched me, they pushed me down, they threw me in the water, I hit my head, yes, so
when you decided to use your knife, were you using it to prevent an attack or stop the attack that was happening?
to defend myself,
Did you believe you needed to use that knife?
absolutely.
In that moment in time, again, as you've described it, they've pushed you down into the water, you've been punched. That's the moment of time I want to ask you about, okay?
Yeah.
In that moment of time, when you were down in the water, did you believe you could escape?
No,
What do you believe would have happened to you had you not used your knife?
I would have died. I believe I would have been killed that day,
Why'd
or at
you,
that specific time,
why'd you use your knife?
to defend myself.
Those are the only questions I have, Judge.
Mr. Smith-Stad.
You can approach, Judge. Mr. Miu, you've been drinking that day, right?
Yeah, I had a,
And
Like
showing what's
beers.
been marked as Exhibit 12A. You recognize that?
yes,
That's the group photo of you folks from the beginning of the river.
Yep.
In fact, you're holding a beer.
correct.
Looks like everybody in your group has some sort of alcoholic beverage.
Looks like it.
You see numerous people in your group with these phone cases around their necks.
Yeah.
And as you're going down the river, you saw lots of people with phone cases around their necks, right?
Mm-hmm.
All day long?
Yeah,
In fact, River's Edge sells or rents out those phone cases, right?
I don't know that.
Did people in your group rent or buy phone cases from the tube rental?
I have no
stand?
idea.
All right. You've testified that you were told to bring the knife before you left your home, right?
Correct.
And the reason for bringing your knife on the river was to cut strings or ropes for the tubes, right?
Correct.
And that was the reason you brought it.
Correct.
In fact, you told the police that After your tubes were tied together, you thought you put your knife back in the car, right?
Correct.
But in fact, it was in your pocket.
Yes.
Was it in your pocket the whole day?
No.
All right, well, we're going to get to that. Once the tubes are tied together with the rope, and you said that you thought that you put it back in your car, you don't have a reason to have the knife anymore, right? It accomplished its purpose, right?
I didn't know that at the time.
All right. Did you tell the cops, that the police, that you didn't think you were going to need it, and that's why you thought you put it in the car?
I may have.
All right. Were you present when Steve Kaufman, who owns River's Edge, testified first day of the trial?
Yes.
And you heard him say that they sell pre-cut cords for $1, right?
Right.
All right. And then, did you see in the picture, when you got on the river, you were wearing that long sleeve camel shirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
A hat and sunglasses?
Correct.
All right. Ariel's phone was in one of those cases, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I can see it.
All right. And is it your understanding that those cases are float cases?
That's what I was told.
All right. And you told, in fact, you told Lieutenant Hart that it was in a float case, right?
Correct.
Once the phone disappeared, there was conversation amongst the folks in your group about whether it was even worth it to go look for it, right?
That's what I learned.
And in fact, you were told that they didn't care about the lost phone because they had insurance to cover it, right?
That's what I learned here, but I don't remember that as a conversation.
Nobody asked you to go look for the phone, right?
Correct.
You chose to do that on your own.
I volunteered.
And in fact, members of your group were a little annoyed that you were stopping again so quickly after having been at the hideaway where you'd stopped for lunch.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Did you hear anybody in your group say, why are we stopping again?
I didn't stop the group.
The group stopped when you decided to go off on your own to look for this phone, right?
Speculation.
Overruled.
Right?
They already stopped. I got off the tube to look for so I didn't stop them.
In any event, you're the one who insisted on looking for it. Nobody asked you to do that, right?
Objection,
Sustained.
And when you left to go look for the phone, you had your goggles and your snorkel, right? You knew that the phone was in a float bag, at least that's what you told police afterwards, right? Is that a yes?
Yes.
So the bag, the phone and the float bag would have been floating, right?
Supposedly,
All right, and so you wouldn't need a snorkel and goggles to find a phone floating on top of the water, right?
I wasn't sure if it was actually floating or not, and never tested it.
All right, well, you would agree that a phone has some weight to it,
Yes.
and if it wasn't a float bag, it would sink to the bottom, right?
Yes.
Where it was dropped.
Correct. Well, or remember, it's a river, so
Sure.
it could have flown down.
The river has current, right?
Right. So it could
If I
have
can
flown down.
approach, I'm gonna draw something here.
Yes.
You remember when you met with Lieutenant Hart, you drew a diagram of the river. All right, and this is your group up here at the sandbar, right?
Mhm.
This is the boys' group down here. I'll put initials IS for Isaac Schumann, right?
Correct.
This is the diagram that you wrote,
Mhm.
drew for Lieutenant Hart. The phone was lost over here, right?
Mhm.
Instead of looking downstream for it where the current was going, you went this way, across the current,
No,
to look for the phone. You made contact with Isaac Schumann's group on the other side of the river.
but that's not where I started looking for it, straight across the river.
That's where you ended up making contact with
I
him.
ended up there, but I didn't start there.
All right, the phone would not have floated across the current, right?
Well, I don't know where he lost it. That's where we pulled over. He could have lost it minutes before we even anchored.
So when you testified a minute ago that the phone was lost, where your group was labeled M. Now you're changing that story?
In that vicinity.
Again, members of the jury, what the attorneys say is not evidence. Rely on the witness's testimony. Next question, please.
In any event, it's your testimony that you had reason to go over to the south side of the river where Isaac Schuman's group was, to look for a phone. That's your story?
I had reason to search in that area. I didn't know where that phone fell in the water. I don't think even Ariel knew where he lost it. We didn't drop the phone when we anchored. He dropped the phone before we got there.
Fair to say that at that point in the river is 150 feet wide,
Yep,
and Isaac Schuman's group was on the south side of the river.
correct.
Your group's on the north side of the river.
100 feet.
Rather than searching the north side, you went to the south side of the river. Is that fair to say?
I already looked in that area.
That's not what I'm asking. You went over to the south side of the river, right?
Overruled. You can answer the question.
You did, right?
What was that question again?
You went over to the south side of the river to supposedly look for this phone, right?
I ended up there at that point, yes.
And you chose to go over there and look for it, where these boys were.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
Oh,
You chose to go over to where these boys were to look for, supposedly look for this phone, right?
chose to look in that area, yes.
There was other areas of the river where these boys weren't located that you could have searched until they floated past. Right?
A million other spots.
Sure. But you chose to go to that spot.
I didn't even notice those boys there at the time when I was searching.
You were present in court when Eric Williams, who was a member of your group, testified, right?
Right?
You heard him testify?
Yes,
And you were here when he testified that he had some concerns about you going over to snorkel by this group, Isaac's group?
I heard him.
And one of his concerns is that he thought that they would think you were a predator, right?
Sustained.
He testified that you didn't have your knife in your pocket the whole time, right?
Correct.
When you decided to do a snorkel over by Isaac Schuman's group, you had the knife in your pocket.
Yes.
Did you go back to your group and get it?
No, I had the knife. I testified I did not have the knife in my pocket the whole time. When we pulled over there, I fixed my shoes. Then I left it in my pocket.
All right, but somehow, so when you get ready to snorkel,
Yes,
you've taken off your shirt, right?
yes,
Your hat,
yes,
your sunglasses,
correct.
you left the knife in your pocket.
I forgot it in my pocket.
Well, on the video, we can see you touching your knife, right? You knew it was in your pocket.
Well, when you walk, it starts, yeah, but
It has weight,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So you can't forget it's there because it's got weight. Correct?
at some point, I forgot I had it in my pocket when, yeah.
You
When
weren't
you
gonna,
walk.
you were not going to need your knife to snorkel and look for a lost phone.
Correct.
Overruled.
You weren't going to need your knife for that task that you set out to do, right?
I wouldn't even need anything.
But you brought it with you anyhow.
It happened to be in my pocket, yes.
When she got over to where Isaac Schuman's group was, they made it readily apparent they did not want you over by them, correct?
That's not true.
They didn't call you names?
Yes, but they asked me what I was looking for. And I thought they were polite people. I said, I'm looking for my lost phone.
They did not want you by them, and they told you that, right?
At some point, yes.
And that's the short video. You turn around and you're walking away, right?
Yes.
But then Juan Cockfield calls you a raper, right?
Yes,
And then you turn around
yes.
and you were angry.
I was not angry.
Oh, you were not angry that someone called you a raper,
No,
all right? You look at Juan, who's filming you, right?
yeah,
And for some reason, your testimony is that even though many people on the river have these phones and these float cases, you decided that was the phone and you needed to run up and check.
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Your testimony earlier was you thought he had the phone, right?
I thought he had the phone, yes.
Right.
I wanted to investigate.
And you, instead of walking up and saying, hey, is that the phone I'm looking for? You ran up on these boys, didn't you?
I ran up and stumbled, and then I fell right by their, yes,
That's my next question. You're claiming now that you stumbled.
yes.
You've never said that before today, ever, to anybody, any law enforcement or anybody else. Right?
But I have seen the videos now.
Well, we're going to take a look at the video. And since you reviewed the video, you know that before you ran up on them, you were touching your knife in your pocket to make sure it was there, right?
I don't remember that.
Well, let's take a look. Stop. Back up one. That's you with your right hand touching your pocket where your knife was clipped in, right?
It appears so.
What is he on? Whoa! 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 Get away!
So you're claiming today that where you reach down and grab at these boys' legs where their tubes are, that was a stumble. Is that your story?
Objection argumentative.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
I know I hit a stone, yes. But I grabbed onto their inner tubes.
And you know where you grabbed onto their inner tube is where two of these boys had their legs draped over their inner tubes, right?
I see that.
And you made contact with their legs, didn't you?
I don't remember that.
Did you see it on the video?
I see it on the video. I don't remember actually making contact.
And as soon as you did that, these boys jumped out of their tubes to get away from you, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
And you held onto their tubes so that their tubes couldn't float away.
For how long?
Well, I'm asking you. You did,
Yeah, it looks like for a brief 1 second.
and you were searching through their tubes.
Or what?
You walked around their tubes. Rather than letting their tubes go so they could get back in their tubes and be on their way, you walked around their tubes.
So after my goggles dropped in the water, I went around their tubes to go to the other side and look for my goggles.
Let's talk about your goggles for a second, because you told the police, specifically Lieutenant Hart, that these boys knocked your goggles off your face and that you were looking for your goggles at that point, right?
I don't remember my interview with her, correct?
But you heard yourself say it in the interview.
Yes, yes.
And in fact, that nothing of the sort ever happened, right?
So the interview with Brandy Hart was not accurate.
What you said at the time is what you wanted the police to believe happened, right?
That's what I remembered at the
Okay.
time.
And from the video, you can see that you actually put your goggles in your mouth so you would have two free hands to be able to grab onto these boys' tubes, right?
Yes,
So you were preparing for your stumble before it actually even happened?
I wasn't prepared for anything.
These boys were calling you names to go away, right? After you grabbed onto their tubes, touched their legs.
I don't remember any of that stuff.
All right, you don't remember them calling you, asking you what you were doing?
Watching the videos, yes, but but unnatural remembering, no.
Do you remember as you're running up, they're saying, whoa, 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 what's he doing?
I don't remember that.
All right, but you've seen it on the video.
Yes.
And then once you've made contact with two of these boys' legs and grabbed onto their tubes, they started calling you a pedophile, right?
I don't remember when they started calling me.
Do you remember them calling you a pedophile at all? Or do you just know that from watching the video?
Correct.
You testified that they were calling you names earlier, right?
Right.
And that upset you.
It did not upset me.
Okay, we've talked, your attorneys talked about your comfort scale and your fear scale. Let's talk about your anger scale, okay? At the time you were called a raper, what was your anger scale at?
Maybe 1.
1 out of 10?
Yeah.
And that was enough to get you to run up on these boys, grab onto them, stop their tubes at a 1. Is that what you're saying?
Objection, argument, that's not what he said.
Sustained.
You don't like being humiliated, right?
Nobody does.
Your attorney has said that these boys were humiliating you.
Objection as to his.
Sustained on the form.
You're claiming that you were being taunted.
Objection, did not testify to that.
Sustained. Form.
You had testified earlier that your shoes, there was problems with your shoes, but as you can see from the portion of the video we played so far, those shoes didn't prevent you from running up on these boys, right?
Yes, they did. There was, if I had better shoes, I could walk better, but I could still walk.
If you had better shoes, you would have been able to run up on them faster.
No, I mean, I could walk better. I wouldn't stumble. I wouldn't have a hard time walking.
All right, we're going to watch the video again, and I want you to, if you can, point out for everybody where you stumbled.
What is he on? Whoa! 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 Get away!
Did you watch it?
Yes,
So the stumble, is that something you remember or something that you think you see in the video?
something I remembered.
After you grabbed onto their tubes, stopped them, walked around their tubes, you took a few steps downriver and stood in the path they were floating in, right?
Objection has to form multiple.
Overruled. You understand the question, Mr. Miu?
Could you say it again?
After you left their tubes that first time, you took a few steps downstream and stood in their path where they would need to float, where they were floating, right?
For a few seconds, yes.
You didn't walk off to the south shore, which was close at that point, right?
I thought I walked far away from them, that I didn't even watch them anymore at that point, so I don't know where they were at that point in time. But I was still looking for my goggles now.
Are you denying that you stood right in the path of their tubes?
Objection, argument.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
At that moment in time, yes.
Now, when you ran up on these boys and grabbed onto their tubes and made contact with their legs, you weren't saying anything at that point, right?
No.
You didn't say anything like, hey, I think that's my phone or Ariel's phone?
I don't remember saying
Well,
anything.
you've seen the video.
Right.
You just ran up and grabbed onto them, right?
It appears that.
Was saying nothing. We can go up to the screen. We're going to look at some more frames here. We're starting 20-second mark, I believe. You stood in front of their tubes, right? This is at the 23-second mark.
For a brief moment.
All right, keep going. Stop. At that point, you had the entire river open to move in any direction, right?
Right.
You chose to just walk a few steps directly downstream from where their tubes were, right?
Correct.
The boys were yelling at you at this point, right? You remember that?
Yep.
They were making a commotion, right? They were loud. And that attracted the attention of the folks in the Carlson group, right? You've testified that Maddie Cohen walked over, right?
Yep.
You walked towards her,
Yes.
and the water level at the spot that you had contact with Maddie was about ankle deep from the video.
From the video, yes.
And you told Lieutenant Hart you were standing in really shallow water, right?
Yep.
Maddie told you to leave the area, right?
She didn't say it that way, but yes.
She said, go, go, go.
And
She swore at you too, but she was telling you to go, right?
yeah,
You didn't go.
I was trying to communicate with her what I was doing in the river.
You didn't leave, right?
No, not down the river.
Hold on.
Irrelevant of legal basis that you.
Overruled. It's relevant.
You did not leave, right?
I
At the
didn't
time
go
that
in
she
the
came up
direction.
and,
No,
when she came up and said, go, 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 you chose to stay, right?
I wanted to talk.
You didn't like that she was yelling at you, right?
I only had like 2 or 3 seconds of direct verbal or whatever.
And you clearly didn't
Interaction.
like, you clearly didn't like she was swearing at you, right?
Right.
And what you told her was not that you were looking for a phone, but that these boys took your goggles, right?
I don't remember what I told
Right.
her.
If it's on the video, did you say it?
If it's on the video, yeah,
You never mentioned you were looking for a phone.
I don't remember my conversation with
And
her.
in fact, after you told her that they took your goggles, you never said another word, right?
After that,
Right.
of course I did.
Talking about your anger scale, at the point where Maddie Cohen was yelling at you and pointing at you and swearing at you, where was your anger scale?
1,
And even with your anger scale being only 1, you started touching, fidgeting with the knife in your pocket, right?
I don't remember that.
Let's take a look at the video. We're ready. It's timestamp 135. That's you touching your knife in your pocket, right?
Correct.
And at this point, you've got your back to the 2 girls who were yelling at you, right?
It's possible.
So even though you were fearing for your life, you turned,
Not what he said at that time.
Overruled. Let's get the question out.
You turned your back on these folks, right?
Where am I in that location as reference to the other people?
I get to ask the questions at this point, okay?
All right.
You're back at the 135 mark that we just watched. You've turned your back on these folks, right?
Okay.
Is that true?
Yes,
You
I
saw
see
it,
that. Yeah.
Right? You're touching your knife, but you got your back to them, right?
I see that in the picture.
And so at that point, you wouldn't have turned your back on these folks if you had fear of them, right?
Objection mischaracterizes his testimony.
Overruled, overruled. You can answer the question. Yes.
We'll play a
Mr.
clip
Smestad,
here.
next question, please.
We're going to play a clip here, Judge. We're starting at 126. Just play it. We can have the screen. Stop. Stopping at 135. So in that clip, that's the point where you had waved at your friends, right? You had turned your back on the groups of people that were in the area, and you're touching your knife, right? And at that point, you called out to your friends because I think you had said, and maybe I'm wrong, that your fear scale was going up at that point. Is that not right?
I see lots of people around me, and I wanted somebody to be on my side.
Right. Your fear scale was going up, so you tried to wave your buddies over, right?
Creeping up, yeah.
And as it's creeping up, you're fidgeting with your knife.
It appears that way.
At some point, and even though your fear level is creeping up at that point and you've called for help from your friends or at least waved for help, you turned your back, right?
Yes.
At one point, you turn your head and you stare at the group of 17-year-old boys, right? Do you remember doing that?
I don't remember, but if I could see a video.
Put it into context, it would have been at the point when Maddie Cohen tried to turn you away from those boys. Do you remember doing that?
Yes.
And 1 second. If we can get the frame up. We're at timestamp 116. That's the look that you gave to those boys, right? At that time, at 116?
Yes.
That's the look on your face.
Yeah.
That's an angry look.
Not to me. I was annoyed. more than frustrated, but not angry.
At the point where you looked at the boys with that expression on your face, whatever it was, you had the entire river in front of you open to walk to, right? That's true.
Correct.
And instead you chose to turn back around where Maddie Cohen was, right?
I stood my ground. I basically stayed in the same location.
Right.
I didn't go towards anybody at that point.
You didn't take a step away either, did you?
No.
And at that point then, that's when Riley Madison joins her. And you've got Madison and Riley standing in front of you, right?
I suppose that's the time, yeah.
2 girls.
Yeah.
And these 2 girls standing in front of you touched your shoulders somewhat, right? You never said yes?
Yes.
You never stumbled backwards or anything like that?
It wasn't somewhat, but
Well, let's take a look at the video. We're going to start a little bit earlier than the part I wanted to start at. It's at the 135 mark again, if we can put this screen up. You take the screen down. Starting at 134. So at that point, you're touching your knife before Maddie and Riley are standing in front of you, right?
appears that way.
Stop. You had said that your fear level was rising. You had waved to your friends, right? That was the look on your face at the time, correct? You're smiling.
I'm confused.
You're smiling.
I'm confused.
You're not smiling?
That's not a smile.
Yes, let's move on, please.
Should you turn the screen on? Can we get the screen back? Stop. All right, so you had been fidgeting with your knife multiple times. You've got Riley Madison in front of you. I believe her testimony was she's a 115-pound woman. You got Maddie Cohen on your other side. This is when you choose to pull out your knife, right?
Motion has to form.
Overruled. You understand the question?
What does her way have to do with me?
Sir, you don't get to ask the
Oh, I'm
questions
sorry.
at this point. You pulled out your knife at this point with these two girls standing in front of you, right?
Yes,
And you held it down by your belt line, right?
yes,
And you open it up, right?
yes.
And this is before you had been punched or anything like that. You had that knife ready with these two girls standing in front of you.
Objection as to use of the term girls or women.
Women, pardon me. Right?
Mhm.
And you didn't hold it up and say, hey, I have a knife, right?
To me, that would be a threat.
Well, I'm not asking you that. You did not hold it up.
No,
And you didn't, in fact, you held it down by your side, right?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
Isn't that what you did?
yes,
You didn't take a step back and brandish it and say, hey, back up, I have a knife, right?
Correct.
You opened it down low, and then you held it down low by your side. Right.
Correct.
And as you're doing that, you're smiling. Right?
That's not a smile.
Well, let's take a look at the
I'm-
video.
I'm overwhelmed and annoyed.
And that's you holding your knife down by your belt line, right?
Yes.
When you pulled it out and opened it up, you held it with the blade facing up, right?
I didn't pay attention, but in the video, yes.
And it becomes important later when you stab AJ, because you didn't try to cut him down, you cut him up, right? Right?
That was not my intent.
Overruled. I believe the witness answered the question.
You had the knife blade up and you're saying you didn't know that?
I didn't pay attention.
As you're holding it there, you've got your thumb on the bottom of the handle, right? Right?
Yeah,
Blade up.
I see that.
Blade's pointing at, looks like at Matty Cohen, right?
Yes.
Nobody else, I'll strike that. After you opened that knife, would it be fair to say that your fear level went down a little bit because now you had your knife open?
No.
All right. But was your fear level going up at that point? I think you said that earlier.
The whole situation was boiling up.
So when you have your knife open, you take a couple step backwards to get away from the situation?
I stood my ground. I stayed in place.
You never backed up one step, did you?
No,
You had your knife out and you were prepared to use it.
to defend myself.
At that point, there's nothing to defend yourself from, right?
I didn't know that.
If I understand your testimony today, now you're acknowledging that you did do something to Matty Cohen, which started off this fight, right?
Objection argumentative.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
Objection, plead pro.
Yes. All right. Mr. Smestad, would you please rephrase the question?
I will, Your Honor. You're testifying today that you did actually make physical contact with Matty Cohen, right? Before you were punched or anything else, right?
I may have.
You don't
I-
remember that?
Well, I remember what I said, but I went over to push. She was right in my face, right in my space, yelling, and I could smell the alcohol in her breath.
But you had been drinking too, so it might have been your breath.
I didn't have vodka and all the other garbage.
My
Right.
point is, today you testified that you did something physical to Madison Cohen before you were punched, right? Correct?
I don't know if I touched her or not. It's possible that I did.
If your friend Sergio testified last week that he saw you push her and she went flying back a couple of steps, that's what happened, right?
Objection as to form.
Sustained.
Were you present when Sergio testified?
Objection as to form and relevance.
Sustained.
After you pushed Maddie Cohen, only one person ever punched you, right?
From the video,
Right.
that's what I see. I don't remember what happened there at that time.
I'm not asking you what you remember, I'm asking what actually happened.
I got punched.
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained, rephrase the question, start.
You saw in the video that only one person ever punched you, right?
Yes.
Objection.
It's cross, it's not
Hold
legal.
on. Yes. Objection sustained. Let's move on.
You testified that you went down and you fell down in the water when you were punched, right?
Yes.
And you indicated, I think, that you were punched in your jaw, I think on your left side of your body.
Yes.
You testified that you fell back in the water and hit your head, right?
Yes.
You did not drop your knife,
No.
right? You held on to it when you fell down into the water.
Yes.
When Dante Carlson hit you, he was holding a can of beer in one hand, right?
Yes.
He was fighting you with one hand.
Yes.
You never suffered any kind of bruising or cuts to your face from this incident, right?
On the inside of my cheek.
You cut the inside of your cheek.
Yes.
Yeah, you never had any bruising on your jaw, right?
I don't remember. I mean, I had a beard. I couldn't tell.
You weren't bleeding from your face anywhere.
No, not that I know.
Let's play the video of him stabbing you. Once you're knocked down in the water, AJ Madison comes up to you and pushes on your back, right?
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained.
We'll play the video. You were pushed in the back by AJ Madison, right?
Objection, no foundation.
Overruled.
In response, you got up out of the water, right? You take your knife in your right hand with the blade up, right?
Objection is in narration.
Overruled.
That's what you did, right?
Still in my hand. Yes, that way.
You jabbed it into his belly.
About the same time he hit me in the throat.
That's not what I'm asking.
Yes.
You jabbed it into his belly, right?
Yes.
Instead of pulling it out, you pulled up, right?
Because I had so much time to think about it.
You pulled up.
I did not pull up.
Okay,
Look at the angle of my arm.
We're stopped at timestamp 156. You see your knife,
Yes.
how close it is to his jaw, his chin?
Yes.
That's because when you stabbed him, instead of pulling out, you went up, right?
I was falling backwards with the knife in my arm, in my hand, and the angle of my arm was about the same. Just got hit in the throat.
In this frame of the video, the knife's pointing straight up, right?
Yes.
You went in, pulled up, and it's by the time you got done up by his face, your knife's pointing straight up.
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
It's straight up.
At that point, Tony Carlson came in to break up the fight.
Objection, speculation. He doesn't know what Tony Carlson's doing or why.
Overruled. You can ask the question, he can answer.
I don't know what he was doing.
You know that he told Dante Carlson to back up, right?
Objection, no foundation.
Overruled.
Do I know from video and from testimony? Yes. At the time, I didn't know.
After you stabbed AJ Madison, you were pushed back into the water, right?
Just sorry, it's AJ Carlson.
Pardon me. No, it's not. It's not.
AJ Martin.
It's AJ Madison. He's not part of the Carlson family. AJ Martin,
Thank you.
pardon me. After you stabbed AJ Martin, you were pushed back into the water, right?
Yes.
Nobody jumped on top of you.
No.
Nobody was kicking at you or punching you.
No.
You're just in the water by yourself, right?
Apparently, yes.
We're going to take a look at the video starting at 1:55. That's you in the water, still holding your knife, right? Pardon me, this is before you got up. At this point, you're standing there. There's nobody hitting you, nobody's punching you, nobody's kicking you, right?
Objection, that's not what the video shows. He's not standing.
Gentlemen, please come up. Let's continue. Next question, please.
In any event, you were sitting in the water after AJ Martin pushed you over, right?
I landed on my butt
Right.
in the river.
But at that point, the fight didn't continue. People weren't punching on you, right?
At that time, I couldn't tell what was going on
Sure.
around me.
That's at the point that Tony Carlson came over, was yelling at people to back up. Do you remember that?
From the video.
You don't have a memory of that in your head? He separated Dante from you, right?
Objection, no foundation.
Overruled.
Right?
If it's from my memory, I don't remember that.
Tony Carlson never punched you, correct?
Correct.
He never kicked you, never pushed you.
Objection, mischaracterized the evidence.
Overruled.
No.
And you turned around and you stabbed him twice, right?
I couldn't see. I couldn't hear. I didn't know who was punching me, touching me, shoving me, nothing. I was fearing for my life.
You stabbed the guy who tried to break up the fight twice, right?
Objection, form.
Overruled.
That's what happened, right?
That's what happened.
And luckily for him, he was able to block your first stab, so you stabbed him again, right?
I had milliseconds to think.
Riley Madison After you stabbed Tony Carlson, you turned around, you got up, you turned around, and you sliced Riley Madison through her left side of her body, right?
Yes.
She wasn't punching you or kicking you.
She came at me and she had her hands on me.
At the time you stabbed her, she had her hands on you.
Yes.
This 115-pound woman attacked you while you're standing there holding a knife.
She could have been 500 pounds. I don't know. I'm sorry, sir, but
You've never told anyone ever that Riley Madison attacked you and that's why you stabbed her, right?
no.
You're saying it today for the first time.
I don't remember this whole thing.
After you stabbed Riley Madison, Isaac Schumann tries to push you, right?
And he lands his hands on my throat. Yes.
But his hands originally weren't anywhere near your throat. They were on your shoulder and your chest, right?
I didn't take measurements, but yeah, from the picture, yes.
And as soon as he touches you, you stab up into his heart with your knife, right?
Objection, no foundation.
Overruled.
He went for my throat, and I defended myself. Yes.
Are you saying, we're going to look at the video. We're going to start at 2:02, and for anybody who doesn't want to watch, you might want to avert your eyes. Ready? Stop it when his hands get on him. Right there. What's the time? 2:05. We're at 2:05, the timestamp on the video. That's Isaac Schumann, right? If you
Right,
don't,
right.
his left hand on your arm, right?
Right,
His right hand on your chest, right?
right.
They're not on your throat.
In that particular frame,
And
correct.
your right hand is cocked, your elbow's bent, right?
Okay,
And you've got the knife in your hand.
yes.
Let's play it through, please. And as he's pushing you, you jam your knife up into his heart, through his ribcage, right?
After he touches my throat and pushes me back, yes, correct.
As your arm is moving up to stab him, you actually moved his arm closer up farther up your body with your own movement, right?
I don't know how to answer that. I didn't see that.
At the time that this incident happened, you agreed you weighed 248 pounds.
Yes,
Not one of these people that you stabbed so far in the video were armed in any fashion, right?
right.
You told an elaborate story about people pulling knives on you, right?
Objection, argumentative as to form.
Overruled.
Right? You made up that story?
To Brandy Hart?
Lieutenant Hart, yes.
I don't remember that, but I saw the video, yes,
At no point did anybody pull any knife on you, right?
correct,
You're the only person who had a knife.
correct.
You had said earlier that you had waved for your friends to come over because you were so scared, right? Right?
during we're moving back in time now?
Oh, yeah, earlier you had waved. We saw the
Yes.
video. You said you
Yes.
waved to your friends because
Yes.
you were scared. Your fear level was at whatever. And in fact, Ariel came over, right?
Yes,
And he's in the group at the point that Riley Madison's standing there bleeding into the river, right? He's standing
Yes.
right behind her.
yep,
And at the time that you stabbed Tony Carlson, Ariel's right there, right in the group, correct?
see that in the video, yes.
And when you stabbed Isaac Schumann, he's also standing there, right?
I didn't see him there at the time, but yes, in the video, yes.
So this narrative about it being 13 on 1, you had a friend there,
Objection,
right?
argumentative form.
Overruled.
Your friend was
I-
standing right there. He's in the
I-
video, right?
In the video. I don't remember him being there.
But you saw him coming, walking downstream.
I don't remember.
You waved for him, right?
I waved at my group.
At no point when you stabbed Tony, Riley, and Isaac, did you call out to your friend and say, hey, help me, they're attacking me, right? Even though he's in the frame and he's close to the action, so to speak. You never said that, right?
I was stunned. Couldn't talk.
The last person you stabbed was Dante Carlson, right?
Yes,
And this is in the sequence of events, everything else had happened, right?
yes,
Objection as to form, I don't know what everything else.
Sustained.
All the other stabbings had already occurred, right? At the point that you stabbed Dante Carlson.
yes.
He wasn't punching you at that point.
I was surrounded. People were coming at me. I just came up a couple of times being punched in the head, punched in the mouth. I fell on river rocks. I was in pain. I was hurting.
Tony Carlson had broken up the fight between you and Dante never hit you again after that, did he?
Objection, that's. form.
Sustained form. Please rephrase.
At the point that you stabbed Dante Carlson, he was not fighting with you, right?
Correct,
He had not punched you immediately before you decided to stab him.
correct.
In fact, you took a couple steps toward him to stab him, didn't you?
I thought he was attacking me.
So at that point, you stabbed 5 people and you decide to leave the area. Is that true?
I walked away.
You walked up to Ernesto, right?
Yes,
You didn't say anything about being attacked, right?
I was in shock.
You said, they took my knife, right? To Ernesto?
I
what
don't
you said?
remember that, but that's what I said according to all the video and,
Well, if Ernesto said that, that's what you
Yes.
said.
yeah.
You still got the knife on your person, right? Even though you just told them they took your knife, you still had it. Right?
No. When I reached the tubes,
No, no. When Ernesto came walking up and you walked up to him, you told him they took my knife. It's the first thing out of your mouth, right?
I don't remember that.
Okay. Instead of walking to your group, you walked up to the south side, south shore of the lake, of the river, right?
Yes,
And on the way, you washed off the knife in the river.
I don't remember that.
Well, you had blood on your hand and on the knife, right?
Yes,
When you left the area, right?
yeah.
When you got back to your group, nobody saw any blood on your hands or, right?
Objection, foundation. We didn't know what it-
Sustained.
At some point, you rinsed your hand and the knife in the water, right?
I don't remember that, but
But what you do remember is throwing the knife up into the bushes on the south bank.
right on the bank, yes.
And then you finally walked over to your group, right?
As I was walking, I threw it away, yes.
No, no, you walked out of your way to get to the south bank to get rid of it and then walked back across the river to your group, right?
Objection argumentative.
Overruled.
That's what you did, right?
Yes.
We're gonna play the video taken by Larry and Davis, Judge. It's grainy, but it's of some value.
You have many more questions?
Yes.
Well, maybe this will be a good time to take a break. Let's recess and we'll come back at 2:50. Please take the jury out.
All rise for the jury.
I ask you some more questions about the stabbing of Dante Carlson. Is it fair to say that you did not know that Larry and Davis was recording that part of it?
No.
And you've seen that video here in court?
Yeah.
You are the person in the dark shorts, correct? In that video?
It was not very clear, so I couldn't make out who was who.
Right, if there's a person wearing dark shorts with the same body type as you in the video, is it you?
Third,
Hold on. Sustained.
Well, we're gonna watch the video. We're gonna watch it through at full speed. Your screen's not on. We're gonna play part of it, but slower, but not the end part. We're ready. What's the time for it? Yeah. This is at the very beginning. And Mr. Miu, do you see yourself in the left-hand side foreground wearing the dark shorts? Where the cursor's pointed?
I can't make out.
You don't know if that's you?
No.
Did anyone else on the river have the same body shape that you had at the time?
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained.
You've been in court since the beginning of the trial, right?
Correct.
You've seen all these people testify,
Yes.
the people that were all involved in the incident, right?
Yes.
At the time that you stabbed these folks, there wasn't anybody else in that area of the river that had the same body shape as you, correct?
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained. It's the same question.
You're aware that Dante Carlson's wearing shorts that are black on the bottom and light gray on top, right?
That's what I learned.
We're gonna go through it slowly.
Judge, can we approach?
Yes. Objection sustained, lack of foundation.
In any event, after you got rid of the knife on the south side of the river, you walked back to the north side of the river where your group was in the, at the sandbar, right?
Yes.
Sat in your tube? Did you sit down in your tube?
Yes.
Eric Williams from your group, realizing that people were hurt, left?
Objection, form, lack of foundation, that Eric Williams.
Sustained.
Did you see Eric Williams leave your group?
No.
At some point, did you notice he wasn't with your group anymore?
I didn't do a head count, sir. Sorry.
Okay. Did anyone else from your tubes go to help with the folks on the river that were hurt?
No foundation.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention to anybody in my group.
When you went back to your tube, you put your shirt back on, right?
I was cold. Yes.
And you put on your hat, right?
Yes.
And your sunglasses.
Yes.
Eventually, you saw police officers and emergency medical technicians show up on the river, right?
Yes.
Wading up the river, right?
Yes.
Trying to help people that had been injured, and
Objection, no foundation.
Overruled.
you saw that happen, right?
Yes.
You didn't approach anybody to say you were attacked, as far as law enforcement or EMTs or anything like that, right?
No, I just pooped myself. I was afraid to go in that area.
Even though there's
Sorry.
police presence everywhere, you were afraid to walk over there and tell them, hey, this is what happened.
Yes, sir.
So you got in your tube and you floated down the river.
Not immediately. We waited there. We had people, from what I learned, not that I remember, that called 911, and yeah, I don't remember any of that stuff. So I don't remember.
So do you remember waiting for Eric Williams to come back to join your group so you could leave?
I don't remember.
All right, do you remember saying, let's go? You yourself saying that?
Objection, asked and answered, cumulative city.
Overruled. Overruled.
I don't remember.
Ernesto Torres, he's your best friend?
Yes.
You didn't tell him what happened as you were floating away?
I didn't talk to him. I don't remember talking to anybody. I don't even remember going down the river or up the river. I was just stunned. I don't remember anything.
You didn't tell Ernesto, I was afraid for my life and I did this?
No.
You never told Ernesto that I acted in self-defense?
I don't remember talking to anybody.
You didn't say, I was afraid they were going to kill me, these folks?
Objection, no foundation, he said he doesn't remember.
Overruled.
I don't remember.
As you were leaving the area, you saw folks giving CPR to Isaac Schumann, right?
I didn't see that.
All right. Eventually, you made it down to Village Park where the exit was, right?
Eventually.
And there's some video of you relaxed in your tube, kind of playing in the water with your hand, right?
Objection is to form.
Sustained.
Do you remember seeing the video of you
I remember seeing the video.
relaxing in your tube before you got back to the end?
Objection is to form.
Sustained.
Did you see the video or not?
I said I did.
When you got to Village Park, your group exited the river, right?
Yes.
There was multiple police in the area, right?
Yes.
You saw a uniformed officer with his gun drawn, walking towards you, right?
Right.
You didn't approach that officer.
I was afraid of everybody at
You were
that
afraid
time.
that, you were afraid of the officer?
I was afraid of anything and everybody. I was afraid of anything. I couldn't, I was still in shock, so I was afraid of everything. Yes.
You didn't approach the officer and say, they tried to kill me, I defended myself, nothing like that, right?
I don't remember saying anything like that to anybody.
You walked right by him, right?
All that is a blur. I don't remember it.
Once you got further up the path, though, other officers were able to pick you out of your group, right?
Apparently, yes.
They stopped you, right, before you could leave the park?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember the police stopping you and detaining you in the park after this incident?
I remember being stopped, but I don't remember the details.
Sure. You were aware that the police had a picture of you from the river, right?
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Do you remember the police had to take your hat and glasses off to make sure that it was you in the picture?
Nope. I was focused on one thing only. Somebody with a bat that I've seen in the woods and across that whatever bridge, the little bridge, Rainbow Bridge, whatever. I was focused on him. I was very afraid of that person.
Did you ever say to the officer, hey, there's a guy over there with a bat and that's concerning me. Can you do something about it?
No.
You're put into a squad car, right?
Mhm.
But yes,
Yes.
Sheriff Knudsen came over to make sure you were comfortable, right?
I saw that in the video. Yes.
You don't remember talking to Sheriff Knudsen?
No.
You remember him asking you, well, if you don't remember, you don't remember. We're going to play that video and then I have some questions for you. Your Honor, this is the longer version of the video that's been referenced. It's 1 minute and 59 seconds.
House, when you're ready.
Camera recording started.
Still doing all right? Yeah. Okay.
What's going
Temperature's okay in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear somebody got stabbed. And I fit the description.
Yes, you do.
All right.
Yep, so we're working through that now. Did you see that fight on the river?
I heard about it.
You heard about it?
Yeah, and I seen people gather around it.
Okay. All right.
And I went over to talk to see if somebody saw anything, but that's about it.
Okay.
Our whole group was pretty interested in finding out what happened.
Okay. And that's your whole group over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. Okay, well,
Did you see anybody injured?
no.
You didn't see anybody injured?
No.
Did you see anybody fighting?
I heard people screaming at each other, yes.
Okay. Screaming in anger or screaming in pain, do you know?
Everybody's drunk, so I don't know. I can't tell the difference, but I would say, I don't know, just screaming. You know, calling each other names. That's, I've seen that all day. And we've all been drinking a lot. I'm sure they're drunk. I'm sure they're doing, I don't know, kids being kids.
Kids being kids. Where are you, where's your group from? Where did you drive from today?
I drove from Prior Lake.
From Prior Lake. Okay.
Actually, I didn't drive it. We came there alone.
Your wife and you? And you met the group here?
Yeah, but we know each other.
Okay. All right. As long as the temperature's good, I'll check back with you in a minute, okay? Thank you.
You lied to Sheriff Knudsen, right?
I don't remember that conversation. But yes,
In
I-
fact, you told him that you heard there was a stabbing, right?
I don't remember any of this stuff.
You're fishing for information about what happened, right?
I don't know what you could say I was fishing. I don't know.
You asked him some questions about what had happened, right?
Again, I don't remember this conversation.
But you were pretending that you didn't know what happened. Is that true?
No.
At the point that you were talking to Sheriff Knudsen and saying these things, you didn't know there was a video of what happened on the river, did you?
I didn't know whether I was dead or alive at that point.
She also didn't know that there was a video, right?
No,
When the sheriff asked you what had happened, one of your responses was it was kids being kids, right?
I don't remember any of that conversation.
You just heard yourself say it on the video, though.
So
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained.
I'll move on. Prior to being taken to jail, you were transferred from that squad car that you were in to a different squad car, right? Remember that? You remember at some point Deputy Thomason telling you that you were under arrest for homicide and attempted homicide?
I don't remember any of
Remember
that.
When you spoke with Lieutenant Hart, even though you'd been informed that you were being arrested for homicide, you pretended to know that, to not be aware that someone had died, right?
Objection is to form.
Overruled.
Right? When you were talking to Lieutenant Hart, you,
Over here at the jail,
yeah,
I don't remember any of that conversation.
you don't recall pretending to not be aware that someone had died.
Objection assumes a fact.
Sustained.
When you're talking to Lieutenant Hart, that was about 4 hours after you'd been arrested, right?
Yeah, that's what I learned.
And said you had time to put together a story, right?
No,
Overruled.
You had 4 hours to come up with a story about what happened on the river before you were interviewed by Lieutenant Hart, right?
no,
You didn't have that time.
I didn't put a story together.
Okay. So when you told her things like, 2 of these boys pulled knives on me, you were telling the truth?
No,
That was a story, right?
correct.
And when you said that you somehow managed to grab one of the boys' arms and bend their wrist back and stab them with their own knife, that's a story you made up, right?
I told her what I remembered.
You remember doing that?
No, everything I told her is what I remembered at that time.
At the time you told her these things, you thought that you would grab someone's arm and stab them with their own knife?
As you can see, I was very confused.
Did you not testify earlier that you lied about the knife
That I did.
and that
I did.
nobody else had a knife on the river except for you?
That I lied about the knife.
So it's impossible then for you to have twisted someone's arm and stabbed them with their own knife, right?
I saw the video.
No, I'm asking what you said to Lieutenant Hart.
I don't remember the interview, but I saw the video. And
You're aware,
I know that it's not right. It's not true.
not just a couple of little lies, but lie on top of lie to Lieutenant Hart, right?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
Well, let's talk about some of the things you told her. You said, these boys took the goggles off my head and threw them down the river, right? You told her that?
If that's what the video recorded, yes.
All right? You told her that these boys tried to pull down your shorts, right?
That's what I saw in the video, but I don't remember the interview.
That's a detail you added for your benefit, right?
No,
You said these boys attacked you, right? You told her that multiple times, right?
I saw the video.
Did you say that or not? Yes or
I
no?
said that in the video. Yes.
And you knew that wasn't true, right?
So in the video, I lied. I totally lied about the knife. I didn't remember a lot of details. I didn't remember of anything. I don't even remember the interview. I just looking at the video. It's I can look at it like anybody would look at it for the first time. I don't remember any of that.
You told Lieutenant Hart that these boys told you, don't run away from us. Remember saying that?
Objection, no foundation.
Overruled.
No,
In fact, it's just the opposite. They were telling you to go, right?
I don't remember.
You told her that a second boy had a knife, attacked you with the knife, and you took that from him, right?
That's what I saw in the video.
That's not true either, right? Right?
That's not true.
You said that when you walked back to your group, and this is talking to Lieutenant Hart, that Ernesto asked you if you had found the phone, right? Remember saying that to her?
I don't remember any of that conversation I had with her.
Yeah, that wasn't true either, right?
If this is all part of that interview, I don't remember anything,
Yep.
so
That's what we're talking about. We're talking
Right.
about the interview with Lieutenant Hart.
then I don't remember the interview.
Okay, I still get to ask you questions about it.
Sure.
You were specifically asked, did you have a knife? Right? Do you remember being asked that?
I don't remember that, but I know I was.
Your answer to Lieutenant Hart was no, no, absolutely no, right?
Right. Which I lied, I know I lied about the knife.
You said to her, why did they want to scare me with a knife? Right? Talking about the boys, I mean, the 17-year-olds. When none of them ever had a knife, right? Is that right?
Apparently not.
You said I grabbed it, meaning the knife, from him because he tried to poke me with it. Do you remember saying that?
Nope.
You said a woman hit you in the ear. Do you remember saying that?
Nope.
You know that's not true, right?
Objection, foundation.
Overruled.
You know that's not true as you sit here now, right?
Right.
You told the police and Lieutenant Hart, I think, that you thought it was two different groups of people fighting against each other, right?
I don't remember telling her that.
Right. You know, as you sit here today, that that is completely made up, right?
Again, I don't remember any of that you're talking about right now, if it's
told-
about the interview.
You told Lieutenant Hart that you wanted to stay in the area and, you know, watch the police come and arrest these people for fighting, right? That's what you told Lieutenant Hart?
That's what's in the transcript, yes.
When you were told that a person had died, your response was, is it because they fought each other? That's what you told her, right? That's how you responded?
If it's in the transcript. But I don't remember.
You never told Lieutenant Hart that you punched or pushed or did anything to Maddie Cohen, right? You left that part out?
Is that what it's in there? Then
Asking if you ever told her that.
I don't remember.
You didn't mention that you had stabbed and severely injured another woman, Riley Madison. You didn't mention that to Lieutenant Hart, right?
Objection, form.
Overruled.
You never mentioned that part.
I don't remember.
You didn't mention being strangled at any point, right?
If that's the transcript, then that we go by that, but I don't remember that interview.
And I think what you said earlier is that you were afraid you were going to die from being strangled, and that's why you stabbed Isaac Schumann in the heart, right? That was your testimony earlier? Didn't you say that today, this afternoon, here in court?
Yes?
That's not anything you mentioned to any police officer, right?
If I didn't mention, I didn't mention it. I don't remember that.
That's not an important detail that you thought you might want to point out.
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
everything is every detail is important. We all know that. But I don't remember saying any of those things to Lieutenant Hart.
Because you didn't say them, right? That's why you don't remember.
Is what?
You didn't say those things to her. That's why you don't remember, correct?
I don't remember what I said or what I didn't say to her. I don't remember even having an interview with her.
So you can't remember anything about what you told her, but when Mr. Nelson's asking you questions, you can remember all these feelings you had at the time. Is that true?
That's the form and
Overruled.
You remember answering his questions about how you were feeling that day?
The feelings I had when I was attacked.
And when you were meeting with Lieutenant Hart?
objection, that's the approach.
Yes. Objection sustained. Please rephrase the question.
You testified today a lot about remembering what you were feeling that day, right? When Mr. Nelson was questioning you, right? Is that a yes?
Yes,
But when you're asked other details that might not be so useful, you don't remember them, right?
certain feelings and certain, they stick to you forever.
Ones
They
that are
affect you.
helpful to your defense, those stick to you, right?
Objection argument.
Sustained.
You were examined by the jail nurse, the SART nurse, several hours after the incident, right?
Yes,
You never mentioned to her that you'd been strangled, right?
didn't mention to her a lot,
Sure.
not because I intentionally didn't want to do it. I didn't remember. I was still in shock.
You didn't mention anything about your throat hurting.
I don't remember what I mentioned to her.
I understand. You never, at any point, told anybody, other than today, that you had a sore throat or your throat was sore from after this incident, right?
I didn't tell anybody.
At any point during the day after you were arrested, when you're interviewed with people, when the jail or the SART nurse is talking to you, you never once said, oh, my throat is sore because Isaac Schumann strangled me, right?
I don't remember what I told those guys either. I was, like I said, I don't remember a lots of the interaction I had with anybody here at the jail.
But today,
Yeah.
almost 2 years later, you remember that the next day your throat hurt. That's what
Yes,
you
because
testified earlier.
yeah. And my back.
You can
still have-
remember that detail, but not the other details.
My back still hurts right now.
The SART nurse specifically asked you when she was doing the exam, where are you hurt? And you pointed out some things to her, right?
I may have.
Yep. But you never once said, I had been strangled, I have an injury to my throat hurts, nothing like that.
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
I don't remember.
When she asked you what hurt, you said your butt hurt from the rocks. That was your response to the nurse, right?
Don't remember.
You had said that, you're in poor health, or you were at least in poor health back on July 30th of 2022. You had had your bypass surgery 2 years prior to that, right?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes,
And typically, people that have medical procedures like that are given restrictions on what they can do in their activities, right?
yeah.
And you apparently weren't restricted from swimming, snorkeling, doing outdoor sports on a river, right?
I was for a while, but 2 years later, lots of the restrictions, I believe, got lifted.
Those restrictions got lifted because you got better, right?
You can say the doctor makes that decision, but he says if you feel a little better, do as much as you can.
Yeah, and you were in fact snorkeling and swimming and doing things that day, physical activities, right?
Snorkeling in 15 inches of water. I was mostly just, I didn't even snorkel. That was not a lake but I was just, my whole plan for the day was to just float down the river and relax.
You're able to run, at least you were back on July 30th of 2022, right?
Run.
You were able to run at that time, right? You weren't restricted from running.
I mean,
You didn't have a medical restriction to keep you from running, right?
no.
And in fact, you did run when you ran up on Isaac Schumann's group, correct?
You call that run? Okay. That's not a run, but I wasn't running. I wasn't allowed to run or do any activities like that, so I wasn't running.
At the time that this all happened, July 30th, 2022, you felt sufficiently healthy to go off on your own, away from your wife and your group, to go do snorkeling on your own, right?
It's what I felt.
I just want to check my notes. I think I'm almost done. If we can have Exhibit 4, Item 10, I'm going to ask Investigator Schultz to actually handle it since it's evidence, physical evidence.
Can you retrieve the exhibit? Oh, what is it?
If investigator can approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
We're showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 4, I guess Item 10. That's your knife, right?
Yes,
That's the knife you used to stab these people.
that's the knife I used to defend myself with. Yes.
I asked you earlier about when you stabbed Dante Carlson. You agreed that he was not attacking you at the point that you stabbed him. He was the last person stabbed, right?
He attacked me.
Earlier, when you stabbed him, Tony Carlson had already broke up the fight, right? You said you agreed to that earlier.
At that time, everybody that came in contact with me attacked me.
Anybody who looked at you?
No, anybody that came in contact with me, I felt attacked.
You felt attacked whether you were being physically attacked or not, right?
I was in the moment, so I felt attacked by anybody that had either previously attacked me or was approaching to attack me.
So you felt like you could stab folks who were not attacking you at the moment that you stabbed them.
Sustained. Sustained.
You walked up to Dante Carlson and stabbed him in the belly, right?
I did not walk up to Dante Carlson and stab him in the belly.
I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson?
Jimmy, if you ask some questions about your fitness on July 30th, I want to ask you some questions about that, okay? Just, maybe we can get it done in one question. Did you feel fit enough to take on 13 teenagers and adults in a fight by yourself without a weapon?
I didn't, no.
You were asked some questions about what happened with each of these people, right? And you were shown some stills.
Mhm.
Were you in court when Do you know how many frames are in per second of these videos?
I learned they're like 24, 25.
So one frame is a 24th of a second, is that right?
Correct.
When you were in that, let me play the video. I'm going to play Exhibit 2.
Are you connected?
I think so. Before I am. Want me to start over?
Yeah, start over. I don't have anything on my monitor either.
That's not the screen I'm looking at, Judge, I apologize. My screen looks like that.
Screen is this with the library.
That was my, that's my home screen, but. Let me take another chance here, Judge, sorry. I could see what it looks like for a second. Okay, that's. I don't know, Judge, maybe I need to take a break. I'm looking at my screen and it shows the video, so I apologize. I'm flummoxed.
This is Exhibit 2, the,
This is Exhibit 2. I want to play it from the 150 mark where you, for 14 seconds.
the spirit of cooperation. Are you able to use your exhibit?
Sure. Apologize, sorry. The video, please. We can start the video at 150, just when he's. All right. Before we press play, Mr. Miu, do you see what's on the screen there at 149?
Yes,
Is that you falling backwards?
yes.
I want to press play and ask them to stop it at 2:05, okay?
Okay.
Please press play.
He ain't a woman! He ain't a woman!
Did observed those 16 seconds or so?
Yes.
You, if there's 24 frames a second and we watch for 16 seconds, as you sit here now, are you able to break down exactly what happened in each of those 284 frames? I mean, do you have a memory of
No.
1/24th of a second
No,
for
absolutely not.
how, as far as time goes, if you can, I
Mhm.
apologize, but if you can, just put yourself back in that space for a moment.
Mhm.
Can you do that?
Yes.
When you're back in that space, on that river, in that time, did you seem like you had 284 different chances to do different things and feel different things? How did time feel in that moment?
Was it was not real. Everything was not real. Time wasn't following the same rules.
When you,
Slow, very slow.
when you said you didn't have a memory of some of the details, but you had a memory of the feelings, can you explain, how is that?
So feelings are brought on by what's happening, at least with me. If you get hit in the head, that's a feeling of hurt. If you fall back and you hit your head, you fall back on river rock and you get hurt, you feel pain. When you know you can't get away and you feel like you're drowning and there are people on top of you pounding you and holding you in the water, that's a timestamp in the filing cabinet that says, this is what I suffered.
Do you
it's
exactly, go ahead, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. It's something I would love to erase from my memory, but unfortunately, there are lots of those feelings, very strong feelings I can't erase.
How confident are you in the accuracy of your feelings?
I know my feelings. I lived with my feelings for 54 years.
How about this feeling? How confident are you in the accuracy of this feeling that you're
100% confident that that is my feeling. 100% confident.
even if you can't remember the details of everything you saw,
Correct.
even if you can't remember the details of everything you heard?
Right.
Let me, because there was some question that I want to just make sure we cover it, right?
Mhm.
AJ, Mark, do you remember each of these acts that you're charged with, each of these acts of stabbing?
No.
Do you remember the particulars, that is, I should say, the particulars of like X person did this, or Y person did this, or Z person did this?
No.
Do you remember, do you have any memory of just randomly stabbing people?
No.
What is your memory as to why you did what you did?
I was afraid for my life, and what I did, I had to do to defend myself.
Do you have a memory of stabbing anybody that didn't come towards you or attack you or touch you or push you or hit you?
No.
Did you ever just randomly go up and hit somebody?
No.
Do you have any memory of Tony Carlson trying to break anything up?
No.
Do you were asked about that, but I know there's some frames on that. Do you remember the frame in which Tony Carlson's coming up from behind and pushing you?
I didn't know where it was, but I remember being held in the water. I mean, it's a feeling that it gives me the nightmares, the trauma that was caused by that. That's the trauma that I remember.
There were asked some questions there at the end about the Larry and Davis video. Could you make anything out in there?
No, I thought I was looking at Sasquatch.
Do you remember anything about Dante? Dante Carlson is the person on the video previously that we saw here that had hit you. You know that, correct?
Yeah.
And he's the person in those two-tone shorts, correct?
Yeah.
Do you have a memory of how it came to be that you defended yourself against him that's not on the Jawan Cockfield video?
No.
You remember him coming up to you?
I remember lots of people coming onto me. I couldn't distinguish who. I don't remember color of shorts or anything like that.
Did you ever swing or hit the knife out of anger?
No.
Why'd you use the knife?
Because I'm a mechanical engineer, I use it as a tool. But what I used it for that day, I used it to save my life for self-defense.
That's all.
Mr. Smestad?
So, Mr. Miu, we hear over and over again that there was 13 people there, and you're there by yourself, right?
Apparently, yes.
But we know that's not true because Ariel was behind you.
Objection.
Sustained.
13 people did not attack you, correct?
Looking at the evidence, correct. In the picture at the time, I didn't know that.
13 people were using words that you didn't like, right?
In action, right?
2 women touched you on your shoulders and arms, right?
They didn't just touch me on my shoulders and arms. You know that.
You were 250 pounds at the time, right?
Yes,
And these women touching your arms caused you to fear for your life?
they're not touching.
Objection.
What's the objection?
That's not the evidence. That's not what he said.
Again, members of the jury, disregard what the attorneys say because what they say is not evidence. What the witness says is the evidence that you rely on. Next question.
You said the time slowed down for you on redirect, right? You said the rules didn't apply, time slowed down.
To me, at that time, everything felt different.
If time had slowed down, you would have time to consider your actions, right?
If it did slow down, yes. So I was wrong when I said it slowed down, but yes.
But that's what you said, right?
I understand.
You never told the SART nurse that you had been drowning, right?
Objection beyond the scope.
Overruled.
I don't remember what I told the doctor.
You never told Lieutenant Hart that you had been drowning?
I don't remember.
Nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Miu. You may step back to the table.